The coffee in the waiting room at Prestige Ford tasted like battery acid and despair. It was sitting in a styrofoam cup that was slowly disintegrating in my hand, leaving a white, powdery residue on my fingertips. I didn't drink it. I just held it for warmth. The air conditioning in the dealership was set to morgue, a frigid, sterile blast designed to keep the customers awake and anxious. I sat in a vinyl chair that was peeling at the seams, watching the morning news on a muted TV mounted too high on the wall. Around me, other customers sat in various states of distress. A young mother bounced a crying baby, looking at her watch. An elderly couple held hands, staring at a repair estimate that probably cost more than their monthly Social Security check. I wasn't anxious. I was bored. I checked my watch. A 1968 Omega Speedmaster, manually wound. It was 10:14 a.m. I had been here for 45 minutes. My appointment was for 9:30 a.m. A simple recall. NHTSA Recall 05S28. The speed control deactivation switch. It was a $10 part that sat on the master cylinder. On the 1998 F-150s, the original switch had a tendency to leak hydraulic fluid into the electrical contacts, causing the truck to catch fire even when it was parked and turned off. I could have fixed it myself in 5 minutes. I had the tools. I had know-how. But the recall notice was specific. Remedy must be performed by an authorized dealer to clear the VIN status. So here I was, hostage to the bureaucracy. I looked through the glass wall that separated the lounge from the service department. It was a fishbowl. They put the glass there so you could see your car, see the activity, feel like you were part of the process. But really, it was so they could see you. They could see who was impatient, who was nervous, who looked at their phone every 30 seconds. I saw a young man walking toward the glass door. He was wearing a blue polo shirt that was 2 sizes too tight, highlighting biceps that came from a gym, not from turning wrenches. His hair was gelled into a rigid, aerodynamic helmet. He held a clipboard against his chest like a shield. He scanned the room. His eyes landed on me. He didn't see Frank Henderson, retired senior powertrain engineer for Ford Motor Company. He didn't see the man who spent 30 years in Dearborn, Michigan, sleeping on a cot in the dyno labs, listening to engines scream at redline for days on end-of-test failure points. He saw gray hair. He saw a faded flannel shirt. He saw work boots. He saw a mark. He opened the door and walked over, his face arranging itself into a mask of professional concern. It was a look I had seen 1,000 times. It was the "I'm on your side, but the news is bad" face. "Mr. Henderson?" he asked. "That's me," I said, not standing up. "Hi, I'm Jason. I'm the service advisor handling your truck today." He sat down in the chair next to me, invading my personal space. He smelled of cheap cologne and breath mints. "Is the recall done, Jason?" I asked. "It's been an hour. It's a plug-and-play harness. Should take 10 minutes. Jason sighed. He looked at the clipboard, then back at me. He shook his head slowly. "We did the recall, Mr. Henderson. That's all set." But while the technician was under the hood, he noticed something concerning. Very concerning. I took a slow sip of the terrible coffee. "Is that right?" "Yeah. Look, your truck, it's a 98, right? Getting up there in years." "How many miles?" 242,000, I said. "Wow," Jason whistled. "That's a lot. Most of these old girls are in the scrapyard by now." Anyway, the tech, his name is Tyler, he's our master tech. He heard a ticking noise. A bad one. So he pulled a sample from your oil fill cap just to check the condition. Jason flipped a page on the clipboard. He tapped a line item with his pen. "It's not good, Frank. Can I call you Frank?" "No," I said. "Okay. Mr. Henderson, we found metal shavings, heavy particulate matter, and the diagnostic code, well, it confirmed it. Your variable flow actuator has disintegrated. The valve guides are shot. The engine is basically eating itself from the inside out." I stared at him. I didn't blink. I didn't gasp. I just processed the words. Variable flow actuator. "Is that so?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. "I'm afraid so," Jason said, leaning in, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "If you drive this off the lot, the engine could seize. The pistons could weld to the cylinder walls. It's a massive liability. But look, because you're a loyal Ford customer." I talked to my manager. We could do a top-end rebuild. Replace the actuators, flush the block, new timing chains. Usually, it's about $7,000. I could get it done for $5,200 out the door. He looked at me, waiting for the panic, waiting for the old man to worry about his fixed income, waiting for me to ask if they had a payment plan. I set the coffee cup down on the end table. I carefully wiped a drop of brown liquid from the rim. "Jason," I said, "let me see the quote." He handed me the clipboard. I read it. It was a work of fiction that belonged on the New York Times bestseller list. Labor, 18.5 hours. Parts, variable flow intake actuator, quantity 2. Parts, VVT solenoid, quantity 2. Parts, timing chain tensioner kit. Miscellaneous, shop supplies, $450. Total, $5,214.68. I looked at the date on the top of the paper. I looked at the VIN number. It was definitely my truck. "You're sure about this?" I asked, looking up at him over my reading glasses. "The variable flow actuator?" "100%, Jason said, nodding gravely. "Tyler is the best. He knows these Tritons inside and out." I smiled. "That's interesting," I said, "because the 1998 F-150 came with a 4.6-liter Windsor V8. It's a 2-valve, single overhead cam engine. It's a dumb block, Jason. It has a static intake runner. It doesn't have variable valve timing. It doesn't have phasers. And it certainly doesn't have a variable flow actuator." Jason blinked. The mask slipped for a fraction of a second. Confusion flickered in his eyes, but he recovered quickly. He was a salesman, after all. When the customer pushes back, you double down. "Well," Jason chuckled, a nervous, condescending sound. "I'm just using the technical terms, Mr. Henderson. The technology has changed a lot. The point is the intake valves are sticking. The actuator, that's what controls the airflow, is broken. Whether you call an actuator or a butterfly valve, it's broken." "A butterfly valve?" I asked. "You mean the throttle body?" "That's mechanical. It's connected to my foot by a cable." "Look," Jason snapped, his patience fraying. "I'm not the mechanic. I'm just telling you what the computer says." The computer threw a code. "The oil has metal in it. You can argue semantics all you want, but your engine is toast. Do you want us to fix it? Or do you want to pay the diagnostic fee and tow it out of here?" "Tow it?" I raised an eyebrow. "We can't let you drive it," Jason said, crossing his arms. "It's a safety hazard. If that engine locks up on the highway, we could be liable. If you decline the repair, you have to sign a waiver, and we can't release the keys until a tow truck arrives." Now, I was angry. It takes a lot to get me angry. I spent 30 years working with union reps and bean counters who try to cut 5 cents out of a brake caliper design to save $1 million, even if it meant reduced stopping power. I know how to handle incompetence. But this wasn't incompetence. This was extortion. They were banking on the fact that I was 72 years old. They were banking on the fact that technology scares seniors. They assumed I didn't know what was under the hood of my own truck. They didn't know that in 1995, I sat in a conference room in Dearborn and fought for the budget to use a cast iron block for the 4.6L truck engine instead of aluminum, specifically so it would last 300,000 miles. I designed the damn thing. I knew the torque specs of the head bolts by heart. I knew the firing order 137265548, like I knew my social security number. "Show me," I said. "Excuse me?" "Show me the metal," I said, standing up. "Take me to the bay. I want to see the shavings. And I want to see this actuator that doesn't exist." Jason hesitated. He looked toward the service manager's office, a glass box on a raised platform overlooking the floor. A heavy-set man was sitting there, talking on a phone. The manager gave a subtle nod. "Fine," Jason said, grabbing the clipboard. "Follow me, but you have to stay in the yellow lines." Insurance policy. We walked through the double doors into the shop. The noise hit me first. The whine of impact guns. The hiss of compressed air. The heavy, thumping bass of a radio playing bad classic rock. It smelled like a shop, but not a good one. A good shop smells like clean oil and degreaser. This shop smelled of negligence. I saw tools scattered on the floor. I saw a technician smoking a vape pen while leaning over a Mustang. We walked to Bay 4. My truck was there. My beautiful Oxford white and silver metallic 1998 F-150 Lariat. I bought it new off the line. It wasn't just a truck. It was a testament to the era when trucks were trucks, not luxury sedans with a bed. The hood was up. Standing next to it was Tyler. He looked to be about 22. He was wearing a hat backward and had grease up to his elbows. He looked at Jason, then at me. "This is the guy?" Tyler asked, not bothering to lower his voice. "Show him the oil, Tyler," Jason said. "Mr. Henderson thinks we're making it up." Tyler smirked. He reached onto his workbench and picked up a drain pan. It wasn't the big drain bucket. It was a small plastic inspection tray. Inside, there was a pool of black fluid. And sure enough, it glittered. Swirls of gold and silver particulate floated in the sludge. It looked like someone had dumped a bottle of craft glitter into a quart of crude. "See that?" Tyler pointed a greasy finger. "That's your bearings, Pops. That's your cam journals." The VVT solenoid got stuck, starved the top end of oil, and crunch. Metal soup. I leaned in. I didn't look at the glitter. Anyone can file a piece of scrap metal into a pan. I looked at the fluid itself. I use Mobil 1 5W 30 full synthetic in my truck. I change it every 3,000 miles. It comes out looking like dark honey, maybe a little brown if I've been towing. This fluid was thick. It clung to the sides of the pan like molasses. It was black as tar. I leaned closer and inhaled. The scent hit my nostrils instantly. It was sharp, pungent. It smelled like rotten eggs and sulfur. "This isn't engine oil," I said quietly. "What?" Tyler laughed. "Of course it is. Came right out of your pan." "No," I said, looking Tyler in the eye. "Engine oil smells like hydrocarbons and gasoline blow-by. This smells like sulfur." I dipped my index finger into the sludge. I rubbed it against my thumb. It was tacky, stringy. "This is 75W 140 gear oil," I said, "used in rear differentials. It has extreme pressure additives, sulfur and phosphorus, to protect the ring and pinion gears." That's the smell. I wiped my hand on a shop rag that was sitting on the bench. "You didn't pull this from my engine," I said. "You pulled this from a waste drum in the back. Or maybe you keep a scare pan ready for old guys like me." Jason stepped forward, puffing his chest out. "Are you calling my tech a liar?" "I'm calling him a fraud," I said. "And I'm calling you an accomplice." "That's it," Jason barked. "We're done here. I'm putting your truck outside. You can pay the diagnostic fee, $189, and get it towed. Or you can sign the repair order. But you're not insulting my staff." "I'm not paying a dime," I said. "Then we keep the truck," Jason said. "Mechanics lean. Try me." He was enjoying this. He felt powerful. He had the keys. He had the property. He had the expert status. I took a deep breath. I could have exploded. I could have started shouting about my credentials right then and there. I could have told them that I wrote the technical service bulletin for the 1999 Spark plug blowout issue. I could have told them I have a framed letter from Bill Ford in my study. But that wouldn't be enough. If I yelled, they would just kick me out. They would hide the evidence. They would claim I was senile and belligerent. I needed to trap them. I needed them to commit to the lie in a way they couldn't back out of. I needed paper. I forced my shoulders to drop. I let my face sag into a look of confusion and defeat. I took a step back, looking at the shavings in the pan. I don't understand," I stammered. "I take such good care of it." "Are you sure? Gear oil? Maybe I put the wrong oil in." Jason's face relaxed immediately. The predator saw the prey limp. "Look, Mr. Henderson," Jason softened his tone, putting a hand on my shoulder. "It happens. Maybe you grabbed the wrong bottle in the garage. It happens to the best of us. The point is, the damage is done. But we can fix it. We can save the truck." $5,000, I whispered, shaking my head. "That's a lot of money." "It is," Jason agreed. "But think about the safety. You don't want to break down in the winter, do you?" "No," I said. "No, I don't." I looked up at him with watery eyes. "Okay," I said. "But I need to be sure. My wife, she handles the checkbook. She's going to be furious. Can you write it all down? Everything that's wrong? The actuator, the solenoids, the shavings? I need a full, detailed report to show her so she releases the funds." "Absolutely," Jason beamed. "I'll type up a full narrative. Technician verified internal failure due to VVT breakdown. I'll make it bulletproof for you. Thank you, Jason, I said. You're a good young man. I'll go do that right now, he said. Why don't you wait in the lounge? Have another coffee. I'll bring the paperwork for you to sign. He walked away, practically skipping. He had hooked the whale. I watched him go. Then I looked at Tyler. Tyler was already wiping the gear oil out of the pan, hiding the evidence. Don't worry, Pops, Tyler said, winking. She'll run like new when I'm done with her. I bet she will, I said. I walked back to the waiting room. I sat down in the peeling vinyl chair. I pulled out my phone. It was an old flip phone, a ruggedized model I used on job sites, but it could still send text messages. I scrolled through my contacts. Past my kids. Past my doctor. I stopped at a name, Sarah Jenkins. Sarah was a brilliant engineer. In 1999, she was a summer intern in my department. I was the one who spotted her talent. I was the one who recommended her for the management track. We had stayed in touch. We sent Christmas cards. Last I heard, she had been promoted. Title, Regional Director of Fixed Operations, Ford Customer Service Division. Her job wasn't designing engines anymore. Her job was auditing dealerships. Her job was catching franchises that were ripping off the brand. I typed a message. T9-word prediction made it slow, but I was precise. Sarah, it's Frank Henderson. I'm at Prestige Ford on Route 9. They're holding my 98 hostage, attempting to sell me VVD solenoids on a 2-valve Windsor, claiming metal shavings and oil. It's gear oil in a pan. Systemic fraud. Are you nearby? I hit send. I sat back and waited. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I'm in a meeting 20 minutes away. On my way. Don't sign anything yet. Keep them talking. I smiled. Jason came back into the waiting room 5 minutes later. He had a stack of papers. Okay, Frank. He was using my first name again. He felt like we were partners now. I wrote it all up. The service manager signed off on it too. We documented the actuator failure, the metal contamination, everything. You just need to sign here, here, and here. We can start tearing it down this afternoon. I took the papers. I put on my reading glasses. I need to read it first, Jason, I said. I always read the fine print. Take your time, Jason said, checking his watch. But the sooner we start, the sooner you get your truck back. I read slowly. I read every word. I let the clock tick. I was buying time. I was waiting for the cavalry. And 20 minutes later, I saw it. A black Ford Explorer ST pulled up to the curb right in front of the showroom glass. It parked in the fire lane, no parking zone. The door opened. A woman stepped out. She was in her 40s, sharp, wearing a navy blue blazer and heels that clicked on the pavement like gunshots. She carried a leather portfolio. She looked like a storm front moving in. It was Sarah, and she didn't look happy. Sarah Jenkins didn't just walk into a room. She partitioned it. She wore a navy blazer with a small, silver pin on the lapel, the Ford oval with a wreath around it. It meant corporate executive. She carried a slim leather portfolio and walked with the kind of velocity that made salespeople nervous. 2 floor salesmen, sharks who had been leaning against a Shelby Mustang, straightened up as she passed. One of them, a guy with a tie clip that was too shiny, stepped forward. Can I help you find someone, miss? We have some great lease deals on the new Explorer. Sarah didn't even break stride. She held up her badge, a hard plastic card on a lanyard that read Ford Motor Company, Corporate Audit Division. I'm not here for a lease, she said, her voice cutting through the ambient noise of the showroom. I'm here for the service director. And for Mr. Henderson. The salesman froze. The words corporate audit have a magical effect in car dealerships. They turn oxygen into vacuum. She walked straight to the waiting lounge. I stood up. Jason was standing next to me, holding the fraudulent repair order, a pen hovering over the signature line. He looked at Sarah, then at me, then back at Sarah. He didn't understand the connection. He saw a sharp executive and an old man in a flannel shirt. The math didn't add up in his head. Sarah, I said, nodding. You made good time. I was in the neighborhood, Frank, she said, smiling warmly, though the smile didn't reach her eyes. Her eyes were locked on Jason. Is this the advisor? This is Jason, I said. He's been very thorough. He was just explaining to me how my 1998 Triton V8 has suffered a catastrophic failure of the variable flow actuator. Sarah turned to Jason. Her expression shifted from professional to predatory. Is that right? She asked. A variable flow actuator on a 98 Windsor block. Jason puffed his chest out. He sensed a challenge to his authority. He didn't know who she was yet. He just saw a woman questioning his expertise. "That's right, ma'am," Jason said, tapping the clipboard. The master tech confirmed it. "Metal in the oil. It's a critical safety issue. We can't release the vehicle." Sarah laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. "That's fascinating," she said, "because I have the technical schematics for that engine on my iPad right now. I don't recall seeing any variable timing components in the BOM bill of materials." Jason scoffed. "Look, lady, I don't know who you are, but I'm the person who signs the checks for your warranty reimbursements," Sarah interrupted, her voice dropping an octave. "And this man, Frank Henderson, he isn't just a customer." She gestured to me. Mr. Henderson was the lead powertrain engineer for the VN 127 program. That's the internal code for the 1997 to 2003 F-Series. He didn't just buy that truck. He designed the combustion chamber. He wrote the durability standards for the very engine you're claiming is broken. Jason's face went slack. The color drained out of it like water from a tub. He looked at me. The old man. The mark. I took the clipboard from his hand. "I think we should go look at the truck, Jason," I said quietly. "I want you to point to the actuator. I want you to show the lead engineer exactly where he put it." We walked back into the shop. This time, the dynamic was different. I walked in front. Sarah walked beside me. Jason trailed behind like a prisoner walking to the gallows. The service manager, the heavy-set man from the glass box, had come down. He saw the corporate badge. He saw the panic on Jason's face. He fell in line, sweating. "Is there a problem here?" the manager asked, wringing his hands. "I'm Bob, the service director. We aim for 5-star service." "We're just doing a technical verification, Bob," I said. We arrived at Bay 4. Tyler, the master tech, was vaping again. He hid the pen when he saw the suits. "Pop the hood," I ordered. Tyler looked at Bob. Bob nodded frantically. Tyler popped the hood. I leaned over the fender. The 4.6-liter V8 sat there, dusty but honest. It was a simple engine. 2 valves per cylinder. Single overhead cams. A composite intake manifold. "Okay, Jason," I said, handing him a flashlight. "Find it." "Find what?" Jason whispered. "The variable flow actuator. The part you quoted me $5,200 to replace. Show me where it is." Jason stared at the engine. He looked at the alternator. He looked at the throttle body. He looked at the coil packs. He had no idea what he was looking at. He was a salesman, not a mechanic. "It's inside," Jason stammered, "under the valve covers." "No," I said, "it's not, because this is a static intake system. The runners are fixed length. The valve timing is fixed. There are no phasers. There are no actuators. The part you quoted me doesn't exist on this vehicle. It wasn't invented until the 3-valve 5.4-liter engine came out in 2004. I turned to Tyler. "You knew that, didn't you, Tyler? You're ASE certified." Tyler looked at his boots. I just wrote what the computer recommended." "And the oil?" I asked. I walked over to the bench. The small inspection pan was still there, hidden behind a stack of rags. I pulled it out. The black, glittering sludge stared up at us. "Bob," I said to the service director, "come here. Smell this." Bob hesitated. He leaned in. He recoiled instantly. "Sulfur," Bob said. "Correct," I said. "Gear oil. 75W140. Probably from a rear diff service you did earlier today." I dipped my finger in it again and held it up. "My engine runs 5W30. It smells like gasoline and carbon. This smells like a skunk. You didn't pull this from my engine. You staged it." The silence in the bay was absolute. The impact guns had stopped. Other mechanics were watching. Sarah stepped forward. She opened her portfolio and pulled out a red form. "This is a level 1 audit violation," she announced, her voice echoing off the concrete walls. "Attempted fraud, falsifying diagnostic data, intimidation of a customer." She turned to Bob. "Bob, I'm freezing your warranty claim account effective immediately. No checks go out until my team audits every single repair order this advisor has written in the last 6 months. If I find one more fake actuator, I'm pulling your franchise certification." Bob turned purple. He turned to Jason. You said he was a senile old man. Bob hissed. You said he wouldn't know the difference. I thought. Jason stammered. He wrote the damn manual. Jason. Bob screamed. Get your stuff. You're done. Get out of my shop. Jason looked at me. He looked at the old man he had tried to hustle. I didn't look angry anymore. I just looked disappointed. You see gray hair, I said softly, and you see a target. You forget that we earned this gray hair by surviving. We built the world you're trying to scam people in. I took the keys from Jason's trembling hand. I'm taking my truck, I said, and if I see a diagnostic fee on my credit card, I'll let Sarah finish the job. The dealership was silent as I backed the F-150 out of the bay. I could see the frantic activity in the rearview mirror. Bob was yelling at Tyler. Jason was throwing personal items into a cardboard box. Sarah was already on her phone, calling in the forensic accounting team. I pulled out onto the main road. The truck idled perfectly. The V8 hummed with that steady, rhythmic beat I had spent 3 years perfecting in a soundproof chamber in Dearborn. It wasn't just a machine, it was a symphony of timing chains, combustion, and airflow. And it was healthy. I rolled down the window. The air was fresh. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Maybe that's true, but you certainly can't fool the old dog with the tricks he invented. I drove to a small diner about 5 miles down the road, a place with a gravel lot and coffee that didn't taste like battery acid. I sat in a booth by the window and watched my truck. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah. Audit team is en route. We found 3 other actuator replacements on 1999 models in the last month. You just save a lot of people a lot of money, Frank. Lunch is on me next time. I smiled and put the phone away. The waitress came over to pour me a refill. She was young, maybe 20, with tired eyes. How's your day going, hon? She asked. Better than some, I said. Just got my truck fixed. Oh yeah? Was it expensive? No, I said. It was free. It just cost a little bit of patience. I looked out at the truck again. It had 242,000 miles on it. The paint was a little faded on the roof. The driver's seat had a tear in the leather. To Jason, to the world of modern sales, it was junk. It was an old unit. It was something to be replaced, upgraded, or scammed. But to me, it was proof. It was proof that if you build something with integrity, if you use the right materials and the right math, it lasts. It was proof that substance matters more than style. Jason had style. He had the gelled hair, the tight shirt, the smooth talk. But he had no substance. He was a variable flow actuator in a static world, complicated, expensive, and ultimately non-existent. I finished my coffee. I left a $20 tip for a $3 cup. I walked out to the truck. I opened the door, the heavy steel door that closed with a solid thunk, not the tinny click of the new aluminum bodies. I turned the key. The starter whined for a fraction of a second, and then the 4.6-liter Windsor caught. It settled into a steady 700 revolutions per minute idle. No ticking, no knocking, no actuator failure. Just the sound of American iron doing exactly what I designed it to do. I put in drive and pulled onto the highway. I didn't turn on the radio. I just listened to the engine. It was the best conversation I'd had all day. There's a misconception in this country that new equals better and old equals obsolete. They look at us, the retirees, the grandfathers, the men with calloused hands and reading glasses, and they think we are out of touch. They think we don't understand how the world works because we don't use TikTok or drive cars that drive themselves. But they forget something fundamental. We built the foundation they are standing on. We poured the concrete. We wired the grid. We designed the engines. When you try to hustle a man who has spent his life mastering the mechanics of reality, you aren't just fighting a customer. You're fighting physics. And physics always wins. Jason learned that lesson today. He learned that you can't fake the oil. You can't fake the part. And you certainly can't fake the competence. I'm Frank Henderson. I'm 72 years old. And my engine is running just fine.